Hey, everybody. Welcome to this Stony Brook Podcast Incubator webinar. We are so excited to talk about making your podcast stand out with Faybeo'n Mickens. First of all, I would love to welcome Kathleen Russo, who is the director of the Stony Brook Podcast Incubator. What's up, Kathy?
Hi. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. I just want to tell you a little bit about the program. We're going to get right to the conversation with Faybeo'n and Amanda. But we are now the Podcast Incubator going into our 9th year. And we are accepting applications. You all went to our website to sign up for this event. So if you're interested, please check out, more about the program. We have an outstanding faculty all working in the industry. And it's a 1-year hands-on program for podcast creators, audio creators. And so we hope that if you're interested in this program, you'll check it out. And we really want to thank our newish sponsor, Riverside, for joining us, and along with Air and Samsung. And we also have a giveaway we always do at the end of our webinars for a trivia question, which Amanda will oversee. So stay till the end and you might win a mic kit. Thanks, Amanda.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Kathy. So again, stick around. We're going to be giving away a Samsung mic. You're going to want to stick around for it. But first, let's get to the reason we're all here, which is to welcome Faybeo'n Mickens into the webinar. Hi, Faye.
Hey, Amanda. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you on this smoky for me in New York City Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, I heard. Careful breathing today. But yeah,
inside.
I'm doing good. Staying inside. Yeah. I'm doing well. I'm here in Atlanta, and it's a nice day. I went for a good walk earlier. Got to listen to some shows.
So, I love to hear it. Well, yeah. We have folks here in the chat saying hello from DC and Brooklyn. Definitely encourage you to keep saying hi in the chat. You can also react down there in the bottom. And please ask your questions. We're going to be incorporating any questions you have into our Q&A with Faybeo'n today. First of all, Faybeo'n, will you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you work on?
Yes. So I am an audio marketing strategist. I work primarily on music podcasts now, but I've had the pleasure of working with several different types of shows from various genres. I've been in this space on the executive side since 2021. And on the artist side, I was an artist in residence at NewsBeat Podcast from 2017 to like 2022-ish. So they kind of overlapped. But yeah, I like to think that I'm a creative suit, and I get to...
That makes me think that you're wearing a suit, but it's patterned. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. You get me. And I like to think that I help creators amplify their vision. And it's great to work in this space of storytelling, and I've been enjoying it and hope to continue to do it as long as I can.
One thing I really appreciate about your background is that, as you say, you have the experience of being a creative and also being a person who is making decisions about how to allocate resources, how to grow shows on that corporate executive side. So will you tell me a little bit about your journey into podcasting? Because I know you had an extensive kind of industry experience before you found your way into podcasting, which I think a lot of us do, right? We get into this medium to share something we're passionate about. Usually that pre-exists the shows that we make.
I love this question. My journey into podcasting actually came from music. So I worked for an audio fitness app called Aptive for about 3 years or so, from 2017 up until the pandemic. And I like to mention Aptive. Shout out to my old director, Chloe. She's now at Amazon Music, but she's just a lovely human being. She helped us navigate the space because in music marketing, we were also dealing with music licensing. And I'm mentioning this because it is relevant to podcasting, but because it was an audio fitness app, we were in this weird space that wasn't radio or licensing for traditional radio stations, but it also wasn't a podcast. So there was like a lot of loopholes. And at the time we were working with Warner and Sony Music. But this makes sense because I got to watch Chloe work her magic and learned a lot about how she navigated that space, even from how we promoted classes and apps, right? Because there was this magic that could happen between the right song and the right trainer. So voices over sounds, right? Or voices over a sound bed or a soundscape, if you will. And with that sound bed being music. So when I got to the point where, after pandemic, we shut down, we were sold to a company, and I was looking for a job. And when they say, like, when preparation meets opportunity, Def Jam was doing a podcast. And for the kids out there, Def Jam is used to be, it's still a label now, but back in the day, it was like the hip hop record label out of NYU, Rick Rubin, they were doing a podcast, and it was to introduce their college slate or their up and coming artist, if you will. So we were making this wonderful fiction narrative show about mental health in BIPOC communities. And then you had coming in these new hip hop artists you never heard of. So it was like the perfect transition out of music into the podcast space. And I love connecting those two stories together because it kind of showed me how to think outside of the box and how to bring vigor and excitement and changing up the pace, if you will, for traditional marketing tactics into the podcast space, and yes. That's how I continue to approach every show that I have the opportunity to work on. From Here Comes the Break, then I started working on another show from the production company Double Elvis, shout out Double Elvis, Dear Young Rocker, which was, again, this wonderful creator. She was also this musician, and that also was a fun show, very introspective. And then I finally got to work on Disgraceland as well, which is like, legendary show.
Indeed.
And it continued to grow. So that was my journey into podcasting.
A couple things really stand out to me from that narrative. First of which is, some people may feel some amount of self-consciousness if they are transitioning from one industry to another, or if your background is in music and then you're interested in spoken word audio. Some people may feel a little bit of a tension, maybe a bit of frustration, or like, oh, am I really qualified for this job? But one of the beautiful things of working in the medium of podcasting, which by, various definitions, is only between 10 and 25 years old, is that everybody working in it has experience outside this industry because this industry is so nascent. And especially when it comes to marketing and the out-of-the-box marketing tactics that we're going to be getting into, you need to learn from somewhere else. It's not enough to just look at the previous podcasts and ask how they've gotten large, because every experience is so unique. Every podcast audience is different, and folks are kind of starting from different stages. And so excited to hear more about these comparisons as we go on.
Yeah. I love how you worded that. We're all kind of building the plane as we fly, right? And it's such a young industry. And the more that we learn and the more we grow, the more it changes. If you think about what tactics we were using last year compared to today, it's completely different, and as more data and information comes out, it's always interesting to see how adding in all these different elements changes the way not only we digest, this content that we love, but also how we find our community, how we build our tribe, if you will. So
very much so. So let's talk about expanding that tribe, okay?
Yeah.
Let's kind of talk at the biggest possible picture. What is the headline here? How do podcasts grow? Okay, we're 11 minutes into this webinar. Let's deliver that value up front.
Let's dive in, right? The answer is going to be so annoying because there isn't one way.
As our colleague Ariel Nissenblatt says, it depends.
I was going to say, shout out to Ariel. Ariel was one of the first people that I met in the space. There's a couple of legends. Like, I knew of your name too, Amanda, coming into this space. And I did research, and I wanted to see how people were thinking about collaboration. I also got to shout out Brady Sadler, who actually recruited me to do that Here Comes the Break for Def Jam and Double Elvis. In his book, Collaboration is King, I remix it and say Collaboration is Queen, or non-binary.
There we go.
But it's one of those things where it's just like the music industry. And, I say this so much, and this isn't to cloud or convolute how we look at audio. And like, audio isn't a monolith, but it is to say that there are very similar ways that creators, if we look at podcasters the same way we look at musicians, we're thinking of creators. And there is no one way that people get to that goal. And also everyone's goal is different. I'm a believer of build where they are, not build it and they will come. You build where your community is. And if you can find people that will build with you, they'll stay, and that's how you begin to grow and expand. But you talk to different, you'll talk to different executives, you'll talk to different fans and, enthusiasts in the space, and you'll hear word of mouth, you'll hear editorial placements, you'll hear cross promos, you'll hear guest swaps and, feed drops convert really well. And you'll hear live events, and that's something very interesting. I love sound bites. Shout out Ashley Carmen. She's been a thought leader that I followed since day one. I think that she has a really great idea and POV on the space, and I love how she's able to be ahead of the curve no matter how much it changes, no matter where we're migrating to at this point in time. And I think sometimes it's all of those things, right? And other times it's just, and this will sound cliche, it's just you being who you are. Like, you're the only person that can tell your story. I tell my clients this every time. You're the only person that can tell your story. And when you approach your craft, your creativity, I try not to call it content, but when you're in a space, that's what it comes out as sometimes. But this is...
I just use the word stuff sometimes, and
stuff.
It sounds inelegant, but it's also a little better than content, in my opinion.
I like it. We can
Just
go
do your
with stuff.
I want to know what your stuff's all about.
Do your thing. Do your stuff, But when it comes to putting together your show, your voice, your brand, your POV, you're offering that piece of you, which is different to the mix, right? And I just find the creators that do best or reach that goal are those that stay true to themselves. And I have to shout out a creator. I love her show. It's called Cramped. I'll never forget. She was like, I made a podcast so I would not have to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera. I want to make a podcast. And, I love creators that are like, this is who I am, and my people will understand me, and I think that's a part of it that's really important. And also being tactical, I think, I don't want to get up and say a bunch of cliches. Like, I like giving, actual tangible observations. I can't even say advice because, again, we're all figuring this out together. But I think it's important to know what works for you. And then once you find that, you double down on it.
100%.
I think that's important.
Yeah. I'm hearing a lot of really important things from you in all these observations, many of which is like, there is no one unique playbook that applies to every person and show, because definitionally each of us is different. And
Yes.
So I know for me, when I was first getting started reading advice like this, I would think to myself, okay, but like, what if I don't know exactly who I am? What if I don't know exactly what makes me stand out? Like, I really craved someone to help me apply the best practices I was hearing about to my individual show. So I don't know. I feel like I have my own answer to how to kind of tease out what is different about you, what people might like or respond to. But what have you found? Like, when you work with clients, if they don't have that strong sense of like, oh, okay, great, I know how to be myself, I know what makes me different, where do you go with them?
For clients that I guess are still finding their how, because I think what I'm gaining from this question is like, I might know my why, right? I might know why I want to do this because I'm the only one that can tell my story.
Yes.
And if they're figuring out their how, sometimes I've learned you got to let them walk through it and just be there with them. Letting them try the different things and different iterations to see what will work. I I've grown to be the companion that offers a bit of advice, and but not to the point where, again, because we're not in a one-size-fit-all industry, seeing how I can amplify whichever direction the client takes, right? So I'm going to use TK as an example. Shout out to TK2S. She has a phenomenal show, The Secret Life of TK2S, and she is the person that introduced me to the podcast space. So in many eons ago, in the old world, I used to DJ for, she had a internet radio station, Bonfire Radio in Brooklyn. This was 2013, 2014, I don't know. We were kids then. When she finally decided to make a podcast, I was like, please let me help. Like, how can I be a part? Coach. Put me in, coach. I'm ready. And when I say we took everything, one of my favorite quotes is "Learn the rules so you can break them." Pablo Picasso. My creative background is in hip hop, spoken word, and when I say we've done everything that people say don't do and more, it's just great to collaborate with someone like that who's open and willing to try whatever. And I don't want to make this sound like I'm driving the car because she's the boss in the situation. Like, I want to make sure I make that clear, because sometimes she'll try something. I'm like, hey, okay, I know we're getting creative here, but typically this strategy doesn't work. Like, just for this reason, X, Y, Z. But I love the fact that even in this collaborative relationship we have with the pushback, we're like, nah, we're going to keep doing it this way. I'm like, all right, we're in it. Then we're going to do it this way. But how can I, also add in something that can, yes, be able to balance out the experimentation we're doing. So I like to say a lot of great music was founded in happy accidents. So I think it's very important for podcasters to try things out in the same way. There's no right or wrong answer. And, Nas said it best: no idea is new under the sun. It's never what you do, it's how it's done. So if there's a way that you can do it that is authentic to you, by all means, make it happen. But, in the same degree, throw in some micro ads, do some cross promo, go on other people's shows, make podcast friends, and be authentic. Don't be, an asshole. I had a professor, I had a preacher that used to say that, don't be just calling on God when you want to ask for something. You got to always talk to God, so.
No one wants a friend that's always asking them for a favor. You want it to be reciprocal, right? You want to be in relationship, in community.
And podcast is based, the podcast community is based on your collective. It's based on community. It's very much a space where, we're kind of growing into, it's growing out of that era. I'm not even going to make it nostalgic. But for a very long time, we were in that space where it felt like there was this nice pocket in the music industry. It was like the late 90s going into 2000s, right before we got to the blog era, internet era. It was just like everybody was working together and doing things together and trying things together. And I feel like podcast is, we're in that space now, but it's going, YouTube and TikTok, we're going somewhere else, but there's still a bit of meatiness there where you can feel community and feel tribe and feel connection. And even the more authentic you can show up in that way is just as important too. I tell my clients, at the very least, wish people happy birthday. Every year you can check in with somebody, if it's just to say happy birthday. Yes. But if you see someone winning an award, if you see someone working on a thing, I also work in podcasting in the tech space, and they always say build in plain sight. Little wins make a big difference, so show up for your community, especially if you want your community to show up for you. And this costs you nothing. This is free. Listen to your friends' episodes. Or your classmates, especially if you listen to your classmates' episode and share something. Hey, I love when you said this. And leave. And don't even say anything else. If they keep talking, let them keep chat. Go do something else. Text somebody else, but show up authentically is just as important in your work, in how you support that work, but also how you support your community.
So well put and so valuable. One of the things that we hear very often from students that participate in the Stony Brook Podcast Incubator is that if nothing else, just having a cohort of people who are also trying to do the same thing, they're trying to grow their show, refine their craft, make a living in podcasting, just to have someone that you meet with for 30 weeks out of the year who's interested in what you're doing is so valuable. And meeting your people, or making friends in podcasting, as you say, in your super valuable resource, which I'm putting in chat right now, around growing your show.
Yes.
Making friends is one of those pillars of podcast growth, and I love that you use the word friends. Number one, because I am really into like taking back the sort of bro-y language of like connections and networking and whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, man, who cares? I want friends, and I want my friends to be successful, and I want to work with my friends whenever possible. And so from my perspective, one of the reasons why making friends is so important is because in an industry that is so new, in an industry that is changing very often, you need to do a great deal of just gut checking and saying to your friends, like, are you noticing this? Have you tried this? Like, what are you seeing? What works for you? And in different industries, that would be a little weird. Like, people who work at Google are not going to call up people who work at Meta and be like, what's working for you guys? Like, the capitalism is in the way. But as you mentioned about like, music industry in the late 90s and early 2000s, what I noticed in early web video in the late 2000s, and then getting into podcasting now, we're all kind of weirdos trying this out and figuring out what we think sticks. So anything more to say about making friends and how not just to maintain those friendships, as you mentioned, but how to find your people, how to find your friends?
Yeah. I always use Here Comes the Break as my nexus, just because that's where I got thrown into it. And I had a lot of autonomy to just kind of figure this stuff out. And I never forget the first time on a meeting, how the CEO looked at me, where I was like, we just need more podcast friends. And the look he gave me was like, I never said that in a meeting again. But, I understood we like to call it like, do you know your jazz? Okay, I'm going to say it like that. This is not how we say it, but when you're thinking of jam communities, I'm using a music analogy here. There was a time in jam sessions where hip hop artists couldn't touch the stage. Like it was just jazz musicians only, and it was only like the cats that played. You got to find the blue note, the purple note, the pink note in order to get on this stage. Like, and if you didn't know, you need to stay out there in the crowd so you can learn. So, when I say like making friends and going beyond the connections, and I love how it is a lot of bro-y language, especially in this space, because it's fast. It's very fast. You have folks that are storytellers. You have people making podcasts about how much they love growing tomatoes in their gardens. And then you have podcasts where they're coaching and they're going to show you how to achieve and become,
I love how you're making YouTube thumbnails as you do that, but it's so true.
It's so true, right? So it's like, in no way is right or wrong, but regardless of which community you're going to be in, especially when it comes to podcasts, right? We're talking, ACAST said, in their recent studies, 70% of people trust their podcast host more than an influencer and more than a celebrity, right? So there is a very strong bond between host and listener, right? So there's a friendship there.
Yes.
I have certain podcasts that I listen to. I know this person. They don't know me, but I know them. And I'm talking back to them when I'm on my walk, and I'm telling them this is what I thought, and they're saying the show, and we're in this together, right?
They'll react to something, and I'll think, oh, that's so Paige. And it's like, I don't know Paige DeSorbo, but I do know how she would react on this podcast.
Come on, say it. You're sitting with your host 45 minutes, or like me, 30, because I listen in speedy time. 30 to 45 minutes a day, 52 weeks a year.
Big part of your life that you're sharing with these people.
Right. And it's something more to it than just what's going to click next. Okay. And that's just on the listener side. and listener host side. Now, if we're thinking about how we exist in community and going back to that analogy, knowing your jazz, you have to know how I am supposed to show up in this space, not only to get something from it, but to also give something back, right? Mm-hmm. And to do so in an authentic way. And so when we're thinking of building this community, when we're thinking of how I can have my show be a part of this community, you have two types of people. You have some people that, and I've had clients, I have to be honest, I have clients that have said, hey, I just want to make money, or I need to sell this, a class or a product or an idea, whatever. And I'll tell them flat out, go buy some Google ads, like go do some meta ads, boost a couple posts. If your goal is to just have this quick turnaround, or if you're expecting you're going to make a show and make $1 million, that's not how it works. It's the same in the music industry. Mm-hmm. Like if you think you're just going to make a hot song and hit it and that's it, listen, that's a pipe. That happens once every 1 million people.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Everybody, say it, Amanda. So like,
I think that's Groucho Marx. That's not me, but thank you.
But still, but we're come on, bring it, because knowing how you fit in the space and what you can contribute will help to that success, is what I'm getting to,
Yes,
and those people that are able to do that as a creator, like if we're talking podcast or music, those are the ones that thrive. Those are the ones that always get invited to the jam session because your jazz. I think I could have landed that metaphor better, but hopefully it landed somewhere.
I'm seeing some of the clapping emotes come up, so people are resonating.
People are getting it, yeah. So that's something I stand firm in, and I tell folks, sometimes I'll pull up Raphonic and I'll just show them. I'm like, this isn't for the weak. You're looking at a show that, yes, they get 1 million downloads a month, but this show is 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they have to see it with their own eyes to understand this isn't a one and done quick fix. You have to decide if this is something that I would be doing for free and I would still do it, then podcasting is for you. Now, it'd be great if you can make $1 million one day, right? That'll be wonderful. But if you know in your heart, like either way, I would be doing this. Take Lady Gaga. Me and my wife were watching the new Lady Gaga. She has a live concert on Prime or whatever.
I'm saving it for myself for Saturday. I'm so excited.
Yes, you're gonna love it. But when I see her perform, her, Beyonce, Solange, like certain artists, I'm like, they would be dancing in front of the mirror by themselves at home if there was no audience. And you could just see how it needs to be the same with your podcast. If you would be having these conversations and putting out, and only your home tribe, your mom, dad, sister, brother, partner, if those people were listening to your show and how you make it is that authentic to yourself and you would still be putting it out, this is what you need to do. And at that point, all bets are off. At that point, all bets are off. You treat your business this, because we're not going to get out here and say, no, if you work hard and wish the best, you're going to make it. We're not going to say no mess like that. We're going to keep it real. It's hard work, right? But at that point, you understand this is my creative avenue and this is my business and this is how I'm going to make it work.
Yes.
Just to be honest, when I was creating as an independent artist, I saved up X amount of dollars. If I knew I was going to drop an album, because I was signed to a label, but I didn't get the same support as the bigger artists. You have your legacy artists and then you have your up and comers. And I was up and comer for a good while till I was a mid-major. But if I knew I wanted to go out on tour, I was saving money for tour. I had money for my PR person. I had money for my college radio promoter. Shout out to Tinderbox in Minneapolis. They had me on the charts and everything.
Why is it always Minneapolis? That is like the hotbed of creativity
Prince,
and marketing.
honey.
And you're right.
Yes.
You're right. The vibes remain.
The vibes, yes. So the same way you have to think about it with podcasting. Who am I going to hire to do my marketing? Who am I going to hire to do my PR? And it doesn't have to be you go with some big agency at first. You can also work up with your friends. I love the Issa Rae model. We grow together. You're in college now. You have somebody working in media studies and they're major is communication. Hey, I need a publicist for my podcast. This is what we do. So there's ways to do it at every level, but I love to tell clients, let your creative be your creative and let your business be your business. The same way you wouldn't go out there and start a brick and mortar business just wishing and hoping, same way you should approach with your podcast, right? So being able to treat your craft in the same way that you would treat your education.
Yes. And, as you mentioned, there are so many ways for the community that you've been investing in. If you've been making friends, if you've been listening to other people's work and shouting out genuinely when something moves you. When I say, I love this episode of The Secret Life of TK2S and I put it on my Instagram, I'm not doing it hoping that TK down the line will be in a position to help me or will give me a favor. I'm doing it because it's truthful. And 5 years later, if TK hires me to, work with her at a program, or if I have an interview come out, or I see a job listing, I think TK will be perfect for this. That is the reciprocity of actually being in community with people whose success matters to you. Like, there is a material reality in which, like, I could, offer you, Faybeo'n, for $1,000, can I please come on your show and you do a sponsored episode where you interview me about this new project I'm launching? Money can stand in for those relationships if you are somebody who is new and coming to the space. But I think for the majority of us, for the rest of us who are here trying to make it work, that Issa Rae model of growing together really is the one I think you should look at. Because the people I was hanging out with on podcast Twitter 15 years ago, sharing notes and geeking out on hashtag Audio Drama Sunday about the new episode of Wolf 359 and, the Bright Sessions, are now folks who, again, 10, 15 years later, this is a long game, have jobs, budgets, might need things, might ask me for assistance. And you don't do it in the hopes of return, just like you don't buy a gift for a loved one hoping that they get you a gift later. You do it because the relationship matters, even beyond any like bonuses and value you might get down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And well said. And it's pouring into what pours into you, but not in a way that's a quid pro quo. It's just fully, honestly, and I keep saying it, but always showing up as your authentic self. And that lends itself to then building the true tribe and true community that you speak of. I'm sad I missed, what was it? Audio Drama Sundays on Twitter?
Audio Drama Sunday. People are still doing it on Tumblr and Instagram. There is still a very strong audio drama community there. So follow my friend Lauren Shippen on Tumblr and on Instagram. She is a really good person to talk about the love and vitality of audio drama even into this day.
Love it.
But taking this kind of big picture, I don't want us to just be two bitches saying exactly to each other all the time. So we're of a mind, I think, about the theory here. Let's get into some more practicalities. One area where I get torn up sometimes about authenticity versus like practical outcome is social media. I feel like the thing I get the most sort of stressed questions from podcasters about is social media, what I ought to be doing, what's worthwhile. I see this podcast doing this thing. Should I be doing it too? I'm exhausted. So how do you see social media, generally speaking, fitting into the ways that podcasts can grow?
Absolutely. So I'm going to preface this, and I think this is the only time I've ever said this publicly. As a creative person, as a person that works in spaces where you have to have some type of social media presence, I loathe social media. I am an elder millennial.
It's a safe space.
I remember MySpace. I remember when you had to have a college email to get on Facebook. So that's my era. So and I'll tell you where I got burned. I'll never forget. This will be a quick story. There used to be on North 6 a public assembly and like 2 other clubs. I can't remember what they are, but it was just a wonderful strip in Brooklyn. If you went on any Friday night, you could hear 3 different genres and styles of music in these 3 different clubs. I'll never forget, we had a hip hop show and I booked this artist who had 200,000 views, because back then on MySpace it wasn't followers, it was views. 200,000 views on his MySpace, and he wanted to charge me all this money. I paid him X amount. It was fine. 12 people came with him to that show.
Oh no, you're figuring out the like
people.
view to acquisition funnel for the first time.
For the first time. And it was, I've never liked social media since. So my relationship with social media is a very complicated one. I have offended people when I've given them my take. So again, and to go back with what Amanda said earlier, and to quote Ariel, the legend, no one way works for everybody. There isn't, but this is from me. I look at social media, and I've worked with, shout out Kayla Moriarty, who was the VP at Double Elvis at the time. That woman worked for was Comedy Channel, some of everybody, every kind of social media award. So I've seen social media marketing done to the prime degree, right? So I respect it for what it is. And for those that are able to get in that space and do really well, especially as influencers, by all means you should. When it comes to podcasting, it's just two completely different things. It's like running a newspaper ad, I don't know, I shouldn't say for a movie. Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't,
yeah.
It's two different things. It's two different funnels is what I tell clients. So you have one funnel that is for brand awareness, host awareness, for things that you want to convert in real life. If you're doing a live event, if you got some new merch, if you have a virtual thing you want people to show up to, by all means, social media should be your thing. People want to see you. They want to connect with you. They want to talk to you. And also today, more podcast people are on social media. So it might convert really well for you. When it comes to downloads and streams, they have nothing to do with each other. Mm-hmm. Nothing at all. And I think, so interesting enough, I actually ran into a marketing, this is when I was with the company. So one person on the marketing team wanted to spend a good bit of money on TikTok, and I disagreed with it. And I said it in the meeting out loud. This is before I knew how to properly code switch. I should have said nothing in that meeting and just let them say what they wanted to say. But I voiced my opinion because I thought it was a safe space. And it turned into several other meetings and some secret white meetings and some other things, which was fine. It's okay. But I was right
expected,
at the end of the
day.
Expected,
but not fine, I would say.
Expected, but whatever. So I think because TikTok was a fun, shiny thing, the same way that YouTube is a fun, shiny thing right now. When you are doing something for X amount of time, you're expecting the new thing that's going to get me a better result than what's working or what I feel has plateaued at a certain point. And I think social media can sometimes be that. Also, there's the element of instant gratification. We are in the era of I need to know it's good now. Like I just posted this. It's only gotten 3 likes in 5 seconds. People don't love me anymore. What's happening? I need to post more. Let me delete this. Let me put another filter on it and repost it again. Or I'll try it next week and change the caption. And it's all of this effort, again, is only for that specific platform that you're in at that time.
And it sure benefits that platform, right? Like YouTube loves it when I have YouTube Creator Studio open all day long where I'm A/B testing, because I'm also giving YouTube insight into what grabs human behavior, what keeps them on their website for several hours. Like it can verge into a sort of conspiracy sounding thing, but it's not. Like these platforms are not morally neutral. They do have their own agendas. And while we can utilize them for our own benefit, and I've met people on Instagram that I've gone on to become friends with, and collaborators with, the point, the work, why I'm doing this is not to grow my Instagram audience.
Absolutely.
It's to find my people, to find potential listeners, and to do my work of community building via podcasting from there.
Yeah. And if even to add in a little bit more, what I like to remind people of is if you aren't paying for something, you're the product. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if you've ever taken time to look for stock, or if you've ever wondered how much data is worth, it's something that people invest in because, not me, but marketers, people that want to sell you stuff, your information, the more that they can have of it without having to source or pay for it, the more they're going to want it. So when it comes to social media, I always tell people, understand that you're working with 2 funnels. One is for awareness and one is for downloads. Social media is not in the one for downloads. Social media is for awareness. You want to think about this in the same vein as your publicity, your brand awareness, and any in real life activation you might be doing. Anything that you are looking for it to be a download or a stream needs to be done in the podcast feed, in the podcast space, or in the podcast community. What do I mean by that? Let's break it down. We're looking at editorial placements on the platforms. I say the top 5: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Pocket Cast. Are there others? Yes, love them. They're great. But technically, if someone is a casual podcast user, they're probably listening to one of those. Now, the OG podcast listeners, they're using the Overcast and the Podcast Addicts and
Lifetime Pocket Casts member, not to
Come on,
brag.
Yes, but you know, it's one of those things where editorial is very helpful. If you're featured in one of those places, people that are in those apps are specifically looking to listen to a podcast. If I'm in TikTok, I may be looking to listen to a podcast, or I may just be wanting to see another dance, or I may just be scrolling, you know. But if you're in a podcast app, we know that podcast is the focus. Same for newsletters.
Just quick data point. One of my episodes of a show I work on was featured on Apple Podcasts last week. We made one about the Odyssey movie that's coming out, explaining the plot of the Odyssey. That. Yeah, for anyone who is like not familiar. And I saw downloads were about 30% higher than usual on that specific episode. Now that happened last Monday, so we only have about 10 days worth of data. That episode had a bump, and the hope, of course, is that some of those people who saw us because of that feature will stick around and become repeat listeners.
And I like to add to that, 9 times out of 10 they will, because again, they're already in Apple Podcasts, right?
They're looking. So
Apple Podcasts was a huge part of the way that we marketed shows when I was with the network. I'm proud that we still have our channel in Apple Podcasts. If you go into Apple Podcasts and look into the music section, you will still see the Double Elvis channel, and it has Here Comes the Break, Dear Young Rocker, 27 Club, and I think Blood on the Tracks is in there too, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, this isn't an ad for, I don't work for Apple. They, you know, they barely, but you know, I don't work for Apple, but it's to double down on what Amanda was saying.
We do have guests from Apple in the Stony Brook Podcast Incubator. So if you want to chat with some Apple people,
okay.
You know, podcastfellows.org.
I got thoughts. Thank y'all. But in addition to, if I could keep going too, so we have editorial, right? We also have newsletters, and it's like, I get this all the time. And we did experiments too. It was a lot of fun that we got to experiment with all these different options. But book club newsletters actually perform well with podcasting, you know? And I really think it's because we tend to be deep dive people. Like, if you're someone who physically likes to turn pages in a book, you're probably also a person that will have a glass of wine and listen to a podcast too.
Yeah.
I don't have any data on this, but
I totally concur with you from my also anecdotal non-data, which is like, if you're the person who like opens up 30 tabs in your browser to like read different articles that people have recommended to you, you're probably going to be into podcasts.
I agree. We have to get data on this though, but I completely agree with you. We'll put a pin in it, but newsletters are really do well, and there are a lot of great newsletters that focus on podcast recommendations. So I always say, and I also think there's a correlation between going from written word to audio. Like I always say, if you're adding a sense, it helps sometimes. If you're taking away a sense, then it's probably not going to go. And what do I mean? Like if I'm on Instagram, if I'm looking at Instagram Reels, I'm using sight, sound, and enjoying. Meanwhile, if I'm reading, there's no sound, so I'm more likely to click, which is why we have so many do you want to listen to this article links now, which I do that. But I'm also sometimes not driving and reading, just consuming content, driving and listening. That's what we'll say. So we have that. And then I like to throw in tentpole moments. I love when we're able to some kind of way, and by tentpole moments, like we know that I'm meaning specific times in the calendar year where certain activity, themes, or conversations constantly occur, right?
Christopher Nolan has a huge new movie about the Odyssey. I have a podcast about ancient mythology and folklore. We're making a moment, people.
There we go. We're making a moment, right? Tentpole moments are some of the best way and some of the best times to pitch for editorial, whether it be for the platforms or for the newsletters. Highly encourage that. Easter eggs, super random. I love this show called Never Post. Got to work with them for a while when I was working for an agency about 2.5 years ago, can't remember. But the host, Mike Rugnetta, made beats. And he used to leave his SoundCloud link in the bottom of the show notes. Y'all, he had me locked in for like a good 2-3 weeks. I was like, okay, chill out. It's just a SoundCloud page. Yes. But it matters. Like, again, this goes back to what we were talking about. your tribe will follow you where, if you build, I'm telling you, they will follow you wherever you go.
Like, yeah. Even and I think Mike's a great example. Like Mike Rugnetta hosted a fantastic YouTube show for PBS Idea Channel on YouTube in the late 2000s.
In the 2000s, yeah.
Got to know him there. He is an incredible creator. I think maybe like 7 or 8 years went by in between that show ending and him starting Never Post. And that show launched to an audience of people who are invested in him, who he is, and excited about his editorial vision.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to see that too. And this is not to say like, oh, we need to look at everything as IP or a media property or whatever. But you know, when it comes to echo on what Amanda was saying, if Mike Rugnetta did, I don't know, a documentary next, I would go watch it because I've been following him from, you know, it's one of those things where it's truly, it's probably just. I feel like the podcast space has really felt like one of the most intentional spaces I've ever worked in because of the connection to the creator, to the work that they create. And you're always looking for more. And I'm just excited to kind of be the person on the sideline cheering folks on.
Same. And one of the ways we can cheer people on is with money. So if folks are in a position to be able to, let's say, do some paid marketing, a term that you introduced to me, which I really love, is the micro ad campaign. Can you tell us what that is and what some examples are of micro ads that you have used in the past?
Absolutely. I love to share this. In my intro into this is think about how much you spend for coffee a day.
$6.
$6, right? Yeah. So even if you just took a month and you said, hey, I'm going to make my own coffee at home this month. And you take that $6 and you save it for the next 30 days, that's $360. That will buy you an ad on Overcast in your category. That will also buy you an ad on Podcast Republic and buy you an ad on Podcast Addict. And I like to use Overcast, even if I just have extra budget in the month. Sometimes I'll just go and grab something in the category. And the thing about Overcast, it's so good that it's almost always sold out. But
that's how you know.
But, you know, that's how you know it's good, because it's like an unspoken secret in the industry. So I've been telling everyone that will possibly listen. Like,
we say the quiet parts out loud here. That's one of the things we have in common.
No gatekeeping allowed. So I highly recommend, if you are, but also to this degree too, to be strategic, right? So if you are feel like, you know, you've done all of these organic and no cost forms of outreach, again, you've submitted to Amazon Music editorial, you've submitted to be featured in podcast delivery. Like, there's a lot of self-submission forms where you can just submit your show to see if folks will feature you. And you've seen the growth happening and you're feeling like, okay, getting kind of in the plateau place, this is a perfect time to do micro ads. And also, if you have just $30 after you buy your ad, let's say you buy a $260 ad, right? You got $100 left over. If you got $30 you want to go in and make sure that you have your SEO and everything set up on your webpage for your show, right? So that you're able to also buy a couple search words, do some Google ads. And I tell people $1 a day. $1 a day. You don't even have to go in there and spend a lot of money. Just something that is consistently happening to push folks to your show, and choose like 10 keywords. And now you got chat. You can ask Chad and them, what's a good couple words I can use? But, you know, these are all very affordable ways that less than $400, you're able to buy some micro ads for your show. And it makes a difference.
It really does. And somewhere where I know you've put some of these tactics to use. And remember, folks, we got about 10 minutes left in this webinar. We'll be giving away a microphone in about 5 minutes. And if you have any questions, I've been dumping links in that chat. Feel free to ask us here. I got a couple more here in my list. So you mentioned The Secret Life of TK Dutez, which is a show that I love for many reasons, including that it's very unique. Only TK could make it. It's hard to describe. It also goes against some principles of like, it has to be, you know, releasing all the time, always with reels, whatever. Like, The Secret Life is The Secret Life. So I'm curious if you could give us some examples of ways that y'all have worked to grow that show, and maybe help inspire some ideas in the people listening.
Oh yeah, especially since y'all are in New York. Link NYC. Write that down if you can.
I will.
One of the fun things that we got to do was for New Year's Eve, we did a promotion where we got a digital billboard for The Secret Life of TK2S. That billboard might have been $200, y'all, $250 maybe. We let it run for a week. But again, this was those two funnels. We didn't do it because we were expecting a bunch of people are going to go scan and download. No. We knew that it was going to be a moment we needed to capture and make a moment online.
And it's cool.
And it's cool. It's so fun to see your show up there, right? And I can't lie, I got this from Double Elvis. This is something we used to like. Amazon owns some buildings. Like, again, I'm telling y'all everything. Is this going to be public or just for the kids?
It will. It'll be public.
Okay. Well, either way, they won't mind. You've seen them. So Amazon had buildings in Times Square. So for every time we dropped a new season, clearly we can't do that with clients because that's a bit of a budget item there. But it's still fun to be able to express it and to do it with the local link NYC. And I think they even have like free options. Like,
they do, for New York City-based small businesses.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can get advertised for free in your own neighborhood. But I think that you mentioned, like, not everybody has, access to, a billboard, but Amazon does. So they're going to take advantage of it. Yeah. I'm a New York City-based small business. I can apply for this, link NYC free ad.
Go.
It's going to vary, but it's thinking about what tools are available to you.
Exactly. I see why you're a professor. I'm calling you Professor Amanda from now on. But yeah, it was we made it a moment, right? We made it a moment. TK had the time when it would go live, and she invited friends to come out, and they recorded it. We put it on social, and like a bunch of us knew we would post it at the same time. So it was something to let people know, hey, the show is here. Next episode is coming. But it was so celebratory as well for folks that might not have known the show had been out, because it dropped in October. So this was like, also, it was a very unique cadence for releasing. So I think the next episode was just coming after the big release. So, and to speak to that strategy too, that's all TK. And I love it. And it's something that I have been able to figure out ways around, right? One of my favorite ones that she did was, I think it was like a missed call or something. But anyway, when you listen to the episode, it sounds like you're listening to her voicemail almost. But she's just so, it's like you said, no one else could do this show but TK. And it truly feels like you're getting to peek inside her journal or diary. And I told her it reminds me of quilting almost, or scrapping. Like, you're having these bits and pieces of her life, and she's kind of just sewing this big piece together, this quilt together. And at the end, you're going to have this wonderful, snuggly piece of her life that you get to understand her a bit more from. But you gotta stay locked in, because you don't know when it's coming, right? So, I mean, and her show her numbers have done well. She's been able to still maintain whenever a new drop comes. That's what I want to speak to. The idea of the drop is very much a hip hop thing. And, you would see... do we want to say sneaker culture? Like with drops, like it's almost like you have to keep paying attention so that you don't miss it, or because you're the one that's left out.
I get here in New York City, all kinds of World Cup things. I've been waiting for like the jersey drop, the bobblehead drop, the ticket drop. Like many of us, I think, are used to this, but it originated in hip hop. Yeah,
and it's one of those things where you become FOMO is a part of the marketing plan. Yes, almost. I think that's how we would. Think about it. But yeah, it's another one of those examples where you learn the rules to break them, because we know in podcasts that's kind of like a no-no. Like, part of making sure that you gain momentum is like, hey, if you're going to drop an episode every Thursday, an episode needs to be in there every Thursday. People want the same way they say you should do your algorithm, in the blogospheres. Like, you have to be consistent. So to have the drop schedule be a part of the show and a part of the show's identity is very, very unique, and it's been a lot of fun to see. And I'm glad she stuck to it,
Me too. Me too. Faybeo'n, I'm going to ask you in a moment what your sort of like parting wisdom is. If there's a single lesson that you could like beam into every podcaster's brain, I'm going to give you a moment to think about that, because folks, our trivia question is here from our partners at Samson. Thank you very much, Samson. And a very Faybeo'n fact, I think. My question is, and you guys are going to put in the chat the answer. The first person to put the correct answer in the chat will win the mic. We will give you instructions on how to redeem that right afterward. Question is, get your typing ready. What year was Def Jam founded in the Weinstein dorm of NYU? What year was Def Jam founded? I had to look this up.
So cool.
Ezra Austin, you are our winner. Well done. It was 1983 by Rick Rubin in Weinstein, perhaps the grodiest of NYU's dorms, right next door to the Hall Goddard, where Childish Gambino, for example, put out his first record, I'm Just a Rapper. So well done, Ezra. Please pop your email into the chat, and my colleague Imran will reach out with instructions on shipping you that microphone. So Faybeo'n, let's leave it to you to kind of close out. Please let us know, what would you beam into everybody's head? And I'll pop, of course, all of your links into the chat as well.
If I could beam a piece of advice into everyone's head, it would be two things, I think. I think I got to share some of the other stuff I remembered. I'll say three.
Okay, love it.
Number
we get a
one,
bonus.
We get a bonus. At the end of your days, all you get to take with you is your memories. So how will you contribute to the world so that it's so authentic and true to what you create, but also to whom consumes it, that it's a part of their memories? Okay. I think that would be one. Number two, the Konami code: up, up, down, down, left, right, select, start. Always figure out a way to reward your tribe. I don't want to say super fans, but again, going back to finding that SoundCloud, I smile when I tell the story. It's so nerdy, but if ever a place where being nerdy is cool, is podcasting, right? So
I think of like an artist making eye contact with the people in the front row who follow them from tour stop to tour stop. You both know that you've both been there, and that matters. It matters.
It matters for sure. And last but not least, you are enough. Demand your worth, and you always have ways to barter. Right. And I'll give a little context there. Sometimes I'll have clients that are really locked in and worried about their downloads. Know that your completion rates are just as important as downloads. It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 downloads and people are only listening to 1 minute of your show. So even if you want to work with a show that you feel like is bigger than you, think about everything that you have in your arsenal. Do you have a big newsletter list? Do you have followers on social? It is a fun, shiny thing. Can you trade that for impressions? Is there a way that you could do feed drops for cross promos? Don't be afraid to cross pollinate ways that you collaborate with folks. So you're always enough. And charge the big people, because there are also people that want to come and say, "Oh, I want to be in a community with you. Oh, well, it costs this much." So
you can fast pass community by paying me for a fast pass.
Come on, that part.
Yeah,
that part. So yes, okay. I think those are the three things.
Incredible.
Okay?
Faybeo'n Mickens, absolutely, what a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for making time for us. Thank you to my colleague Carrie for putting some of those wonderful insights in chat, and Imran and Kathy for helping us run the day today. I put Faybeo'n's website in the chat. You should go check her out and follow her for all of the great work that you are up to. And a final plug for, if you want to have these kinds of conversations every week, if you want to start finding your people, making a cohort of folks who are trying to build community, achieve change via podcasts, go to podcastfellows.org. You can apply for free. We have financial aid. Applications close on August 15th. So please join us. You won't regret it. All right. Thank you again,
Professor
Faye.
Amanda.
Have a great day. Bye.